GM fam, and thank you for those of us who are joining us here live. There's a fundamental realignment happening right now in crypto throughout this bear market, and if you're here, congratulations on enjoying the show. It's sort of amazing to see what started in Curve's innovation zone, which is Frax Finance, has gone on to become a behemoth on Curve. Frax is now utterly dominant within the Curve wars, and its recent plan to conquer the world is proceeding right on schedule. Just recently, the Frax base pool, consisting of Frax and USDC, went live as a factory pool option. Frax is going to be using its coffers to heavily incentivize any pool launching against this base pair, so we can only expect that Frax will soon become the most functional token in all of DeFi, presuming innovators keep innovating, which will probably happen once the Fed loosens up. Not financial advice, though. A, of course, gets better. Next up for Curve and Frax is Frax actually whitelisting Curve. This is bullish for several reasons, but not the least of which, Frax has been earning bank by dumping Curve. Now they can actually do something with it. They won't be dumping. So it'll be interesting to watch what the effects downstream are for that. In addition to all this, Frax is within weeks of launching Fraxland, and they're also embarking on a $20 million buyback of their FXS token. And I tell you, my shopping list for this bear market is substantial, but FXS is one of the tokens that keeps going to the top of the list. Not financial advice, of course. So let's kick this, though, to the live audience. What's your thoughts or questions on Frax, the Curve Wars, DeFi in general? And at the same time, as I see comments stroll in, I got a question for all of you. I'm still, of course, very new to this whole live streaming thing, but I'm very interested to know, should we trim this video or have this kind of live Q&A from the comments going through and available to anybody? Alexander Kenneth Hilton. Hi, love your channel, man. Right back at you, Alexander Kenneth. Is that Alexander Kenneth Hilton or Alexander Kenneth Hilton? My thoughts on Velodrome on optimism. So I have to admit, have been fairly optimistic about Velodrome, but perhaps overly so. I thought that as the general Velodrome rollout was going to go out, that it was going to go a bit more the way of Andre's protocol in terms of capturing people's attention. But as it turns out, the bear market has been more powerful than expected. And as a result, I haven't heard too much out of Velodrome. Like, it hasn't really substantially taken over my feed the way that I'd expected it would. It's still young, it's still got time, and I don't particularly own any Velodrome or Optimism, but I'm still quite bullish on where it might be going. Ryan C., you're the legend. For the people just joining now, I've been putting out a question. Should this live Q&A that we're conducting here, should I trim this from the videos, make it only if you show up for the videos you get to see it, or should this be available to replay for the entire broad audience? And other questions, are all of you big Frax maximalists? What do I think about rewriting dApps using Viper? Raphael, if you are doing this, you might be the richest person in the comments. Again, not financial advice. The fact of the matter is I've been testing this frequently, and I particularly can't find many cases where Viper re-implementing a Solidity contract isn't more gas efficient. So I know there's a lot of degens out there that don't care about gas, some whales and some NFT minters, but most people really, really like their absolutely free, their absolutely discounts on gas. So I think that you could just start a consulting business offering to rewrite Solidity contracts in Viper. You don't even need to tell them the sauce. Just say you're going to rewrite Solidity contracts using a more gas efficient method. Which protocol is not going to want a more gas efficient implementation of their contracts? So very, very bullish on Viper. Ryan C. likes to Frax. Anything that likes Curve, Ryan C. also likes. Very smart, very smart. Let everyone see it. Make Q&A available for everyone. I will do that. YouTube, apparently, according to their algorithm, rewards long videos. I didn't know this because I don't watch a lot of videos. When I launched this channel, I was thinking, let's keep this to 1 minute, kind of TikTok style. Then TikTok shadow banned me. So I kept doing these 1 minutes that are garbage for my YouTube numbers. But maybe being able to get in some live Q&A with all of you will be able to tick those numbers back in the right direction. I'm a bit worried that Frax will have too much influence on Curve. It's an interesting point. I think the question regarding Frax's influence on Curve would then be kicked to the Frax governance mechanisms. Do you believe that Frax is sufficiently decentralized so that the Frax community has control over curve, just like convex has control over curve, but it's largely the convex community. Maybe ask what I do IRL. Well, I sit and I watch the numbers go up, or in this case, watch the numbers go down all day. Now, I do a fair amount of stuff. I'm working on some educational materials for Curve, which manifest in the Brownie tutorial that you might have been watching. That's one of my favorite tutorials for getting up to speed, in addition to a lot of the other great YouTube tutorials. I also teach an evening class at the University of Washington on financial technology. Unfortunately, the curriculum is set, so I'm not able to teach Viper for that. I teach Solidity for the third of the class is focused on blockchain, and the rest of it's focused on like data analysis using machine learning. And then on top of that, I have a few other startups, some of which I'm trying to convert more to a Web3 type implementation. So if anyone wants more information on that, I'd be really interested in chatting about that. Found me via Twitter mention. I'm quite knowledgeable in the field. I knew nothing a year ago, so I would recommend all of you, if you want to become knowledgeable, just simply find a protocol and dive headfirst into it. When Curve bribe aggregators can't keep up, it's going to be tough because every time someone launches an aggregator, someone's going to launch yet another Curve bribe site. So I'm not very bullish on the concept of Curve bribe aggregators as a business, just because I think that someone's going to come along with a new bribe, some kind of new bribe format that's not going to fit into the Curve like bribe aggregator ecosystem. It's amazing, man. Please share more about that. We'd love to learn more. Also great engagement for your audience. Discord, maybe. I have been looking at setting up a Discord for Curve market cap people. The reason I've not done it yet is because I am terrible at organizing and creating Discords. So if you have any particular talent for like community management, creating Discords and channels and roles and all that, please do DM, because I'd be very, very interested in setting up a Discord. I think that there's, generally speaking, like I get all of my information from other people at this point, because there's so much information in crypto, no one person can know it all. But just being able to like get frequent conversations with people who are following this, I learned so much. So I very much want to set up a Curve market cap Discord. Does Butterfly intend and or have a place to have the fees affect the underlying price of the token? That is a good question. I have to admit that I do not know enough about the underlying workings of Butterfly. We did have Sammy on for an interview a few weeks ago, and that would have been a great question for him. And also a question from layman's terms. I do not live in Utah. You might be confused by my pasty white skin, but I'm in fact not in Utah. I'm from the Great Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I'm jotting down that question about Butterfly because I think that's a really interesting question. All right, looks like the comments are maybe tapering off. But this has been a lot of fun. It's definitely grown a lot since a week ago when I was just doing this and getting absolutely no engagement. Same for Toke. Yeah, I'm going to do an article on this. I think this is a good question. I think that just generally speaking, what I've noticed from the DeFi bear market is that any tokenomics that have fees that get generated, particularly ones that are a bit anti-fragile like Curve, and the fact that Curve tends to get better trading fees when there's a lot of volatility. It's just a very cozy place to be during the bear market. By contrast, you see the Bancor type tokens, the Bancor tokens that essentially rely on massively overprinting when price goes down are at risk of a death spiral. So I think that any of the tokens that have fees underlying its valuation just have a lot of floor protection and downside fragility. Please link my socials on my channel. Yeah, see, not a very smart person. The fact that I don't have those socials linked on the channel is not very smart of me. What percentage, asks WTF, of Curve, Convex, and FXS would I advise a noob first get into the Convex or the Curve system accumulate? Now, of course, I have to preface this. This is, of course, not financial advice, so your mileage may vary. So an article I wrote for the paid Substack a couple of days ago was looking at the relative trading values of Curve, Convex, and FXS. And I actually came up with a particular formula, which is just generally observationally how these tokens have tended to trade against each other. Now, I have to admit, I don't exactly remember the exact formula now, but it's pretty close to what you would expect, which is that the rule of thumb is that one CVX controls 5 VECRV. And that's like fairly a rough ratio you can use for just roughly determining if the token is over or undervalued. So if you particularly see that Convex is trading much, much lower than Curve, or FXS is also included in this equation because there's a ratio there as well, you might just try and dollar cost average into the cheapest of the assets. I will note that a lot of this can also depend on the size of the bag you're looking at. Now, there is a time urgency to investing in Convex. 90% of the Convex has already been distributed, which means that if it will last maybe like a year longer or so, and then effectively you're not going to be getting Convex rewards from staking. So I would, like, if you have the capability of acquiring a large bag of Convex, and then maybe you can use one of the multiple different Convex wrapped options, that can get you some very good rewards in the short term that you won't be getting after that. Again, not financial advice, though. I tend to myself, just by virtue of the work I do with Curve, way more heavily into Curve. And through Curve, I end up getting... I missed the FXS airdrop because I'm an idiot, but just through owning Curve, I've acquired some Convex through that. So you can also just pick one of these and get what you're looking at. Another good resource is looking at the Llama Air Force, because the Llama Air Force is always going to be publishing stats backwards looking on how these tokens have been doing. Do I have opinions on the Aura BAL ecosystem? I do. I'm really, really interested in it. It sounds like it's fascinating what Aura in particular is doing, which is trying to become the convex balancer. Really interesting stuff there. I haven't dug into it too much. I've been meaning to write an article about it, but there's been too much other interesting news coming about lately. So I haven't dug into Aura Balancer, but I'm jotting that down as a note for a future article because I think that'll be really, really fascinating to look into. Now, I, of course, have to preface this by saying that every time I've kind of stepped outside the Curve ecosystem, I've ended up getting burnt with DeFi. So it's entirely probable that within the next few months, I'll rebalance my portfolio a bit, move into BAL, and it looks like, according to layman's term, V3 BAL is coming soon, and I'll probably just get burned badly for it. So I'll be very careful. V3 BAL, so interesting. So yeah, fantastic. Great chat, people. Really a pleasure to chat with all of you this morning. I'm not seeing any more questions rolling in, so I'm going to keep doing this. I've been really enjoying doing these live videos, so be on the lookout tomorrow, kind of around this time. Time's still a bit in flux because my morning schedule is a bit wacky every now and then. But yeah, very much looking forward to seeing all your questions, and you know, feel free to drop them on other social channels in the meantime, which will soon be linked, and I'll be more than happy to kind of answer these in the live stream tomorrow.